Good morning and happy Friday. Today is March 11th. We're almost halfway through March. Oh my gosh. We're here for Flosstube. My name is Jessie. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. And we're going to talk about a little teeny bit of cross stitching because I haven't done much stitching this week. Also, we have count them 2 house panthers today because apparently they're helpful today. They've been in the middle of everything, and interestingly enough, I had an early work meeting, and Luna of my 3 cats is rarely ever wanting to be on camera, but she decided to be all snuggly and jump into my lap and then climb up onto my shoulder during my work meeting. So that was that was an experience. And now Loki's over it. He's gonna go lay down in his bed. So it's like maybe I didn't want to be here after all. I suspect that the main reason he was over here was because originally I had my coffee just over here. I just brewed a new cup of coffee, and I think he was sitting here because it was warm. And then I moved the coffee over here because Momo decided to join us, and I did not want to have a repeat of the Twitch incident with the water. So I moved it over here, and now he has run away. So I have a feeling he just wanted to be warm. So anyway, hello, good morning, hi, how are you? How has your week been? I hope it's been treating you kindly. Still lots of awful things happening in the world. I'm not going to go into details today for a lot of different reasons. Partly because I think all of us who are affected by some of these issues are kind of exhausted right now. And then it's there's a lot going on, and I just don't have the energy to address it right now. So understand, it's not that I don't feel things about things. It's just that I have to take care of my mental health, and right now I have more immediate things taking up lots of my mental energy and emotional energy, and so I just don't have the capacity to address that, all of the things that are going on right now. But know that I know that they're happening, and that behind the scenes I'm doing what I can do, but just not addressing that right now. So the biggest things taking up a lot of my mental energy lately, or at least this last week or two, I did have to go back into the office for the first time in 2 years on Tuesday. We finally hired my replacement, so I got promoted into a higher form of my original position, and then promoted into a separate position. That's where I am now, in a completely new position that's different from what I was doing before. So they backfilled my original position, not the higher version. And I've been training that person up, and I needed to go in on Tuesday to introduce myself in person, and start getting them acclimated to some of the things that they'll be doing and taking over from me. So it was a good thing, but going back into the office was stressful on a whole lot of levels, which I've talked about in a couple different places. But just the whole process of having to get dressed up in business attire and get myself up and drive into work, the whole thing was just very exhausting, mentally exhausting. And then I've spent a decent portion of the week doing the training, and the training itself is mentally exhausting. So I'm just very tired. The anxiety that I have been dealing with all of that is exhausting, and the training is exhausting. So, and then yesterday I got the official email from the higher ups at work that they will be transitioning us back into the office, like permanently, like fully and everything, beginning in May. So we are finally to that point where we will no longer be working from home full time, and that is coming with no small amount of unhappiness on my part. That we will have a hybrid work schedule, those of us eligible employees, which they haven't completely defined yet. I have a feeling my position will be eligible. We'll be able to do a hybrid work model going forward, and that will be 3 days in the office, 3 days 3 days in the office, 2 days teleworking. And they've already determined that Friday will be a teleworking day for those who choose to telework. And I don't think they've determined what that second day will be. I suspect it'll either be Thursday or it will be Monday. So teleworking Mondays and Tuesdays, or teleworking Thursdays and Fridays is my suspicion. But that'll be starting in May, and I'm glad that they've given us this much heads up, because it's going to take probably that long for me to wrap my brain around having to do it again. Um, Especially when you're a recently discovered neurodivergent person, it's interesting to realize just how many things are detrimental to your mental health in a normal workplace. And I had been doing the normal office work thing for so many years without any question, without any pause, that I really had no idea just how many things really affect me on a really deep level. The energy it takes just to be around people all day. The energy it takes to mask. I didn't realize I was masking before, and now I do realize that I was masking. And the energy it takes to put on that face all day long, every day, and code switching and all kinds of stuff, because I had never really paid attention to a lot of things before, because I had my office life, I had my home life, and had never teleworked at all before. So there are a lot of things I didn't notice. And one of the biggest things that I've realized is that there are a lot of parts of myself that I hide when I'm at work, because I don't know how people will accept them, or not that I feel like any part of me is unacceptable at work, but that I feel like people won't accept parts of me. And those things are namely my gender identity, which is new-ish. New. My appearance is pretty much the same as it always has been, but the way I describe myself and identify myself is different than it used to be. But also my sexual identity, I have never disclosed that to at work. That's not something that I share with people at work. And there's some other parts of my neurodiversity, which again is newly discovered. But these are things that I feel the need to keep to myself in most workspaces. I don't have to, but I tend to. And I know that there are other LGBTQIA folks. I don't know that there were necessarily any other trans folks or non-binary folks in my office, but I know that there are other non-heterosexual people at work, because there's one fantastic person in one of our divisions, who is, I believe she's cisgendered. She uses her pronouns, unless that has changed over the last couple of years. But she's married to another woman, and is very open about it, and I think it's fantastic. Her wife makes fantastic desserts and pastries and stuff. And I have another wonderful coworker who is openly gay, and they're fantastic people. So I mean, we have folks who are open about their identities, so it should be safe for me. But I've never felt fully safe doing that. So there are just a lot of different parts of myself that I just don't talk about at work, that I never considered myself as hiding, but that I'm not open about at work. And it's interesting to me to realize that, because I've always considered myself a pretty open person. Like, I'm not in a closet. If you watch me online at all, or if you looked at any of my profiles online at all, I'm like right out there. Like, my pronouns are she, they. I'm a bi-pan, person, LGBT. I call myself queer more often than I call myself bi or pan, because I like the fact that queer doesn't pin me into any particular thing. Queer doesn't give people as many preconceived notions as bisexual and pansexual. So I prefer to call myself queer, especially because I can just say queer, and that means gender queer, it means sexually queer, it's all the queers, which I love. I love the word queer, which is funny because a lot of people feel like it's really offensive. It's like, actually, no, we've taken that word back. It's ours now. But anyway, so like I don't identify as queer at work, but I identify as queer everywhere else, pretty much. So I'm not in the closet, but I'm also not open and out at work. And and I never considered myself as like masking, or that's, I think that's technically code switching versus masking, but I never considered that until I started. There were a few trainings we've had and a few things that I've been involved with the diversity and inclusion at work, that have helped me understand that actually, yeah, I am kind of code switching. I am kind of in the closet at work, and I don't like that. I don't like how much of myself I have to hide. But to be fair, I mean, is an office environment really a place where you need to share that? I don't know. I mean, I have no issue with my coworkers being openly whatever they are, so I don't know why I think I need to not be open. But anyway, I think part of it is because I have like long term relationships. I have long running relationships with a lot of coworkers, and I have not disclosed these things to them before. So I kind of feel like if I disclose it now, then maybe they'll think I was lying the whole time. Anyway, it's complicated. The point is, I don't know what the point is. The point is, it takes a lot of energy to not be your full self all the time. Teleworking, I am my full self all the time. If I'm having a really rough morning, I don't have to pretend to not be having a rough morning. If I'm having a really rough morning, then I come downstairs and I turn on my work computer. I make sure nobody needs anything from me immediately. And then I fix my coffee and I chill and I wait for somebody to need something. It's like, obviously, if I have pre-established things that have to get done, I do what I need to get done. But I don't have to expend the extra energy to pretend like I'm okay when I'm not okay. If I'm having a really bad mental health day, I can chill. I can bring my laptop over to my comfy chair and I can chill in my chair with the cats. And I don't have to worry about putting on a mask or a brave face for anybody because nobody can see me and I can just be whoever the hell I am. And I save so much energy that way. I save so much energy that way. So much energy is wasted in the commute back and forth to work. So much energy is wasted in dealing with presenting the right way at work. So all these things, and it's only going to be 3 days a week. And I recognize that I'm privileged to be able to telework at all, but it's still very frustrating because I really have gotten pretty used to being able to just live my life and do work while living my life, and now that's going to change, and I'm not excited about it. So it's going to take me a while to wrap my head around it. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. But at least I have that time. And this is pretty much exactly what I expected. I figured that any time now they would tell us that they were going to be working on bringing us back to the office because case numbers in Virginia are way down, which is good. It's a good thing. The CDC has now said that if you're in a low transmission area, you don't need to wear a mask. So masking is in pretty much any meaningful sense is no longer mandatory, not even by CDC guidelines. And the Department of Labor and Industry is getting ready to repeal their workplace standards that were part of why we were teleworking. So all of the things are falling away. All the things are going away. And so they feel like it's safe and it's the appropriate time. And I expected them to give us about 6 weeks, which is exactly what they've done. So we've got 2 weeks left in March, and then all of April, and then they'll be bringing us back. So this is exactly what I envisioned. I'm just disappointed. Just disappointed because I don't want it. I don't know. There's the potential, I suppose, that I could talk to HR, I could talk to my boss possibly about, I have ADHD. These things are hard for me. For my mental health, it really would be better if I worked from home. But there's a large part of me that feels like I've always, well, I shouldn't say always, in a lot of workplaces that I've been in a lot of positions that I've been in, there's been an inherent barrier between me and feeling like I was part of the larger organization. And I'm finally in a position where I feel like I'm part of the larger organization, and I don't want to drive a further wedge. I don't want to create a wedge where there is none. I'm finally in a position where I feel like I'm an integral part of the team, and I'm not this like extra piece that's an afterthought. I'm actually part of the team. And I feel like if I actually try to work from home full time and am never in the office when other folks are in the office, that's going to create a division that I don't want to be there. So, you know, it's one of those things. Which one is more important to me? Like my own mental health or feeling like part of a team? I don't know. I don't know. But I guess what would be, and this is just me noodling and thinking out loud, but I guess what would be probably an appropriate step is to just to do the hybrid teleworking, you know, to go in 3 days a week and be out 3 days a week and see how that works. And if I can find a comfortable balance. And if that's really not working, if my mental health is really, really suffering, and I feel like I'm not doing as good a job as I could be doing at that point, maybe I address it and say, you know, I've been doing this and I understand that this is our overall policy, but, you know, it's really not working for me. And I think blah, blah, blah. So maybe that's what the strategy will be. See, this is what I do. This is what I do. I'm like, I don't know what I should do, but maybe yeah. Anyway, so my counselor loves me because I basically go, here's a problem I'm having and here's the solution. So this is why bosses love me too, actually, because I'm generally speaking, when I come to somebody with a problem, I also come with a potential solution. I'm rarely that person who's like, so X, Y, or Z is not working. The end. I'm usually, so X, Y, or Z is not working, and I think it might be because of this and this and this. So I think if we do this, then that'll fix it. And I'm like, are you okay with that? And people love me for that. I think it's a good skill to have. It's yet another one of those things where I always assumed everybody does that, and then started really living in the world and understood that that's not something everybody does. So yeah, my boss and I were just talking about that when I was in the office on Tuesday, because we definitely have some colleagues that are not that way. And I'm, you know, I don't always consider myself a proactive person, but in that particular respect, I'm proactive, because what I want is to fix the thing and move on. And if I just come to you and say, here's a problem, and wait for you to give me the solution, that slows me down. It's not efficient. If I go, here's a problem, here's what I think is the solution, are you okay with that? Then that's much, much faster, because if the solution doesn't work, or that person doesn't think that that's a viable solution, they can go, no, I really would rather have it this way. And then we move forward that way, instead of them having to spend all the time just like coming up with it themselves. It's like, anyway, I am rambling. I am really rambling. I was going to start out with, I think this will be a short one because I haven't stitched a lot. And then I remembered who I am. So it might still be shorter than usual because I really have very little stitching to show you. But so consequently, because of all of the angst and anxiety and low energy and stuff, most of my free time has been spent playing relaxing video games, because I don't feel like knitting. Part of it is that I have gotten to yet another garter stitch section on pinions, and so I'm just not feeling it. So I haven't been knitting. Also, I think the other reason I haven't been knitting, so I made a mistake in my pinions. I really should bring it over here and show it to you. I'm not gonna, but I should. Actually, I might pause in a second. I'll go ahead and pause. I'll go get it. I won't teach you like that. So give me just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, here's pinions. I haven't shown y'all this in a minute, so let me. I think it was last seen on Twitch, and even then I didn't show like the whole thing. So it's getting pretty long, as you can see. Part of it matches my shirt. I'm in section, I think I just finished section 14. So I actually made a mistake in this section. I don't know if you can even see. And I think that's part of the reason that I'm blocked on this, is because I made a mistake, and part of me is like, no, just leave it in, it's fine. And part of me is like, oh my gosh, no, I have to fix it. And I can't really, I don't know if y'all can tell. I don't know if I can tell that there's a mistake. I mean, I kind of can, but I don't know if I care. And I think that's kind of where I am with it, is I'm like, do I really want to, pardon, I got wool on my nose and now it's itchy. So part of me really wants to tink it back and fix it. A larger part of me is like, oh my gosh, that would be murder. Because this section is a whole lot of like specialty stitches. I'm not sure if I can even see the stitches to tink it back. So that would likely mean going all the way back down to where I have some stockinette rows and tinking all the way back down there and then redoing that whole section. And I am not here for that. I'm not here for that. So likely, especially now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it again, I will just go ahead. I probably won't do the entire called for section of garter just because I hate garter stitch. Jasmine will laugh. We've had large discussions about this. Garter stitch is annoying to me, and I don't necessarily like the way it looks either. I mean, it looks okay. This is a section of garter. Pardon. So I probably will do, I don't know, 4 or 6 repeats of the garter stitch, only because I have noticed that the garter stitch sections do provide a nice visual break between the more complicated sections. So yeah, so I might do a few rows, but not a ton. Because I just don't like doing it. So, and she wants, the pattern calls for like 12 repeats of garter stitch. And I'm like, no thank you. So this is a section of garter stitch that was actually knitted the way that it was, I'm trying to, okay, that hand is fine. This hand is, okay, there we go. Directions, okay. So this section down here is actually how the pattern called for it. So there's like 11 or 12 repeats. But I skipped a garter section in the middle here and realized that it probably would have looked a little visually better if I had done the garter section. So when I came up here, I actually did this garter section, but I think it's 5 or 6 repeats. I just did, so that would make it like 10 or 12 rows. I did it enough so that it was a nice sized border. And then I moved on. So I'll probably do that here too, and then move on to the next section. So I think 15, section 15 of 20 is the next garter section. So I'm nearing the end of this, because this is only supposed to have 20 sections, and then you actually stitch it together to turn it into a poncho type situation. We'll see if I actually do that. I think I might, just because it looks kind of cool. But yeah, we'll see. I was concerned that this wouldn't be big enough, but this actually, once I block it, is going to be as wide as my body. So I think it'll be fine. I've seen this on some people and it looks massive, but they are tiny people. But I think even though I'm a big people, I think this will turn out all right. So yeah, so there's my knitting, but I haven't knit on this in ages. And even though this week has been like a trashy mental health week, I just haven't felt like I haven't been called to my knitting, and that's fine. It's fine. You don't always have to do crafts. I do find that knitting helps with my mental health, but I've not been in a place where I needed that particular kind of mental health. I've been very happy with the video games I've been playing. Largely because I've been playing Animal Crossing, doing that mostly daily, and then I got really into this game called Spiritfarer, where you play a character named Stella who is a Spiritfarer. So she helps spirits pass on to the next world. So she actually is taking over for Charon, who is the very renowned ferryman, but she's taking over for Charon, and so now the game is it's a resource management type game, but also there are all these stories of these spirits that you're helping to move on. So it's really interesting. My stepkid Kidlet told me it's a really sad game. So far it has not been sad. I mean, wistful maybe, but I've been enjoying it, especially because it has that repetitive component, but also like the it's a little bit repetitive in that similar to like Stardew Valley, where you're trying to collect all these resources and you have some gardening you have to do and like all that kind of stuff. So it's repetitive from that aspect, but you've got the individual stories that are going on. You've got lots of specific goals that you're trying to meet, upgrades that you're trying to buy and stuff like that. So there's goals, there's directionality to it, but a lot of freedom. It's not as stressful as I find Stardew Valley, because Stardew Valley, the days are like really short and you're trying to get stuff done within the scope of a season, which is 28 days. And, so it's like it feels just like you're trying to get things done. Whereas Spiritfarer does have that day structure where it's like morning, noon, night, all that kind of stuff. It has that cycle-y structure, and there's a certain period of the day that you can't sail. So there is that to work around, but it's not like you're not on a time crunch. Nothing is really urgent. You do everything in the space of time that you want to do it. The only things that are urgent are depending on how you're traveling. You may not be able, like the boat may not automatically stop at a place, so if you're not paying attention you might sail right by it when you mean to stop, but you can come back. Like nothing disappears. Everything's cool. And that's why it's so relaxing, because there's still the things that there's still the goals and like the quests and things like that to keep you moving forward, but all of it is done in whatever time you feel like. So it's pretty relaxing. So I've been doing that a lot. And not stitching or knitting. But I did stitch a little bit on Twitch. Twitch has been really good for getting me to stitch when I'm not in a stitchy mood. So, I didn't stitch it all over the weekend. I talked about this a little bit on Twitch because Saturday we hung out with Kidlet. Took Kidlet shopping, got them some new overalls, which they loved and were so happy with. And it was to see them light up. I mean, I could see them light up even though they were wearing a mask. Like I could see it. So the gender euphoria was strong with them that day, and that was very happy making to me. I was excited that we could do that for them. So we spent the day with them, had some lunch, did some shopping, and then we spent the evening hanging out with some friends who made us dinner and made us cheesecake, and we played a game called Agricola, which is a really complicated resource management game where you're like a 15th century peasant. Not my first choice for board games, but if people are gonna feed me and give me cheesecake, I'll play whatever. It's all good to me. And it was a good time. And then Sunday was the trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming Zoom, which is always a fantastic time. Kel and Rin and Kitty hung out with me on Zoom, or we all hung out together on Zoom, and it was fantastic. I loved it. They're some awesome people, and I so enjoy our chats. And we do that once a month. I think I forget to mention it here, but if you're a trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, or any other identifier that falls under that umbrella, you are more than welcome to join us on those Stitchy Zooms. Generally it's the first Sunday of the month, and we do it at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So if that's something that you're interested in, you're welcome to send me a message or an email, or catch me on Instagram. Usually I do post it on Instagram to get the link for that. But it is a safe space for trans folks and trans umbrella folks. So if you are not under that umbrella, we would ask you not to enter that space. But not because we're being exclusionary, but just because it's a safe space for us to be us. So yeah. So that was Sunday. And then as Jasmine said, I time traveled because I just lost the rest of the day. I don't remember what else happened that day. I don't remember. And then the rest of the week has been the week. So yeah, I haven't stitched, and I didn't stitch until Wednesday. But on Wednesday, I started a Quirky Quaker because this month, March, is hashtag Quirky Quaker Birthday Sal for Michelle Bendy, Aaron 2 Martini Stitcher, and some others that I keep forgetting who all have birthdays in March. So the idea is to stitch any Quirky Quakers, as many Quirky Quakers that you have not already stitched as you can. So I joined in on that by starting some of the mythical creatures. So I have this I have this chart from, and they're all Darling and Whimsy. I'll try to make sure to put a link in the description. They're all Darling and Whimsy. This Quirky Quaker comes with a total of 4 charts. So the 3 that you see here, the unicorn's kind of hard to see. My printer's not that great. The 3 that you see here, and then there's a bonus chart where the Bigfoot is recharted as a Yeti. The colors are redone as a Yeti. So I started first with the unicorn, and I picked my own colors because y'all know how I do. So here is my, I'm not quite finished, but here's my Quirky Quaker unicorn. I use Silks For You rainbow floss for all of that colorful stuff. And then you can tell a lot better on this camera than you could on my Twitch camera, but that is DMC satin. It's 5200 satin. Try to hold it, there we go. So it's real puffy because I used 2 strands. 1 strand didn't look quite enough, so I did 2 strands, and that was a bit too much, but you know, it is what it is. Unicorns are extra, so it's totally fine. So, and this is a piece of 28 count Lugana, opalescent Lugana that I dyed myself. And that is looking pretty fabulous, I think. So I just have to decide, there's a thin border that goes around the inside of this rainbow section, and then there's a couple of small motifs that go on either side of the heart. So I just have to decide what color to do that in. It's probably 150 stitches left, something like that. But yeah, so I started this on Wednesday, and this is, I did a little bit of this stitching on Thursday just to finish up the unicorn, but almost all of that I did on Wednesday. I didn't do very much on stream, but I stitched it all on Wednesday. And then part of the reason that I stitched it in the location that I did was so that I had this nice blue on the other side of the fabric. That's where I'm going to stitch Nessie. I haven't decided on colors and stuff, but that's where Nessie will go. And there's cat fuzz on here. So I'm not sure how I will finish these because there's not going to be a huge amount of space between the 2 of them once I stitch Nessie over here, but you know, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So, but yeah, because I was talking on stream about how I'd have to see if I had another piece of this dyed fabric that had mostly blue or only blue in it, and then I looked and realized that this side was blue. There's that little bit of pinky purple that shows up at the corners there, but mostly it's blue, and then this side has all the colors. So yeah, so that's the Quirky Quaker unicorn, and then Thursday I started Quirky Quaker Bigfoot. So this is, I did a color and cotton conversion from the Called For Gentle Arts for this one. And I actually am in the process of frogging because, so Bigfoot here is totally fine. This line down here is totally fine. What's not fine, please focus. So these 4 stitches that go diagonal are fine. It's everything to the side of that that's not fine. I stitched them like 1 diagonal too low. So as I was, and I actually had stitched way up here, so I'd already gotten some other stitches, but I started doing my like cross examination and realizing that the stitches were not lining up at the level they should have. So then I started tinking, not tinking. I started frogging. We're not knitting, we're cross stitching. So I started frogging, and then I got distracted and didn't come back to it yesterday. So that's when I got done yesterday. I did get a significant portion of the Sasquatch done on stream. So like the arm, I think I started with the arm, or I did the arm while we were chatting. I got a large portion of the body done on stream, which was pretty impressive for me, because if y'all have hung out on stream, you know that I get distracted pretty easily. So this is another piece of fabric dyed by me, a little scrap fabric dyed by me. And let's see, I'll end up posting these conversions on Patreon at some point, but I've just chosen 3, I think I talked about this last week. I just chose 3 colors because you needed a dark brown, a lighter brown, and a green. So I chose 3 color and cottons that I liked. So yeah, so that's that. So that's the stitching. That's all the stitching I've done this week. So 2 new starts, no finishes, but very likely that I will finish one or both this weekend. I'm hoping to get a lot of stitching done this weekend. Probably the majority of my stitching will go on a model stitch that I can't show you, but I'm hoping to get a lot of stitching done this weekend. So no mindful March as of yet, which is probably not the greatest thing. Like, I probably need to be doing some mindful March, but I haven't done it yet. I will hopefully at some point next week. But the next couple of weeks are going to be really busy with work, and when things are really busy with work, I have a tendency to not want to do anything that involves my brain, which strangely enough usually includes cross stitch. And I think it's just because, like, I think very strategically about how I'm stitching, like where am I going to stitch next, what color am I going to pick next, counting the actual stitches, making sure they're all right. I mean, I enjoy that whole process, but it does take work in my brain, and when I am wiped out from work, I can't. So we'll see how that goes. This weekend is Whip Go weekend. If I can get a bunch of stitches in early on my model stitch, then maybe I'll switch over to a Whip Go project. But we'll see. Part of my issue this week too was just not knowing what I wanted to stitch on, like just not having a drive to stitch on anything in particular. And it wasn't until I was trying to figure out what I was going to stitch on Wednesday on Twitch that I was like, the Quirky Quakers. And that was a pretty simple decision because I already had those 2 kitted up basically and ready to go. It turns out that the third thing I had kitted up that I showed last week, I think that's actually meant for a tiny TARDIS pattern. Because I realized after looking at all the blues that the Yeti's only 2 or 3 colors, I think, and I have like 4 or 5 colors picked out for them. So I was like, oops. But that's okay. So I had 2 of the Quirky Quakers already kitted up to go, so that was a no-brainer. It's like they're ready to go. I've already got the chart, so that was very simple. And I'm glad I started those. That was really fun. They're very enjoyable to stitch. So okay, is there anything else? Future intentions for the month, Whip Go at some point. Or Relentless at some point. Yeah, so I don't know what the rest of the month is going to look like. I have some things I need to get done this weekend, some things I need to get done next weekend. We'll see if that happens. We'll just see. So I guess that's all I have for you today. So it is going to be much shorter than usual. Lots of chatting. So if that's what you like, there we go. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to share. I think that's all I've got. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. I hope you're having the best day, week, month that is available to you. Weekend, if you're watching it over the weekend, that's available to you. I hope that you're taking care of yourself and that life is being kind. And if life is not being kind, I hope you're being kind to yourself. Because the last thing you need is a lot of self-critiquing and being hard on yourself when the world's already hard enough on you. So take care of yourself, be kind to yourself. And remember what I always say, make sure to stay hydrated, make sure to take all of your meds, and remember that you are enough. And I love you all. I'll see you next time.